Hey folks, Andy here, hope you're fitting well. Right, ask a guitar player how they choose their gear and you'll get some mixture of factors involving how good it sounds, how well it feels in the hand, how well made it is, maybe the fact that we like the colour of it, the shape of it, the graphics on a pedal, that somebody used it on a record, that somebody used it in a video that we liked on YouTube. And that kind of shakes down to the fact that we tend to choose the gear we like and then find something to do with it. A couple of things happened just recently that really focused my mind on doing this job the other way around, what I think is the correct way to do it. And those things were, one, I had a holiday booked, and secondly, I got a call from a friend of mine saying, would I be available to fill in on a gig with his band? Now, it's a covers setup and it's a band that tunes down by a semitone. The gig was 2 1-hour sets plus encore, so 30 odd songs, and a lot of them I didn't know. So I had quite a lot of material to learn. I said, yep, I'll do it. What's the date? And of course, the date was the night that I was due to get on a plane and go away on the aforementioned holiday with my family. So, short on time to learn stuff. I mean, I would do it, but I didn't have enough time to be really comfortable with it. And I decided that it was time to get really pragmatic about gear choices. I did not want to chop and change the guitar that I was going to be using. I just wanted to get in as familiar as possible, that I would learn the material on a guitar and then I would rehearse with that guitar and I would play with that guitar. I've done the thing before where you sit at home playing on the Les Paul and then you go to do the gig and you decide to play the SG instead, and you spend a whole night in sheer terror because all the frets are in different places because the guitar hangs differently. I wanted to avoid anything like that. So, because it was cover songs, I was learning from playlists, and then I was going to be detuning a semitone to play with the band. I wanted a guitar that would detune easily, so I wrote off all my trem-equipped guitars because I flunked my trems, and tuning can be a bit of a nightmare when you detune, and little things like the action changes, which means that you get into setup changes. And I didn't want to use any of my Gibsons because they have lower string tension than the Fender scale length guitars do, and I get excited when I play with people. I hit strings harder. I needed a minimum amount of tension in there. So I ended up deciding to use my Telecaster. Now, okay, my Telecaster is actually a no-caster. The pickups on it are a little bit beefier and thicker sounding than Tele pickups, but it was chosen simply for the fact that I could do everything with one guitar. I could detune it, I could play with the guitar, practice with it, rehearse with it, without messing about, simply by turning the tuning peg so the Tele was in. So on my pedal board, I put an Exotic Super Sweet. That's a boost pedal. I don't have much gain on it, but it does a fantastic job of just thickening up the mid-range, which will take that no-caster pickup sound into the slightly heavier end of the classic rock territory if it's needed. And I have got a fuzz pedal. Now, I'm not the world's biggest fan of fuzz, but it does mean that on a couple of the songs that we were doing, I could play a much simplified line and just let the harmonic richness carry me through on that, which made life a little bit easier when it came down to some of the bits that I might have been struggling with on the day. It's not a hero move, but it's certainly got the job done. Now, when it comes down to amplifiers, my amp of choice is the red JCM 800 Marshall that you can see behind me. And for preference, I would play that through the 412, the red 412 that's back there. On this occasion, because I was going to be finishing the gig, breaking my gear down, loading the car, driving home, loading the gear into the house, getting about an hour, literally an hour's sleep, and then getting back in the car, loading everything for the holiday into it and driving to the airport. My 412, for my car, I need to fold the rear seats down. That was just one step too far, like the straw that's going to break the camel's back. So I figured I'm not going to do that. I will use the 212. It's easier to carry. The JCM 800 has got the typical 80s Marshall volume control that goes, yeah, nothing, nothing, bang, and it's suddenly so loud that you know you're killing everybody within 20 feet of the cab. And to make that a little bit more usable, I will run it on gigs with an old THD hot plate. It's the classic old resistive load. I set it to knock just 4 dB off, and it just gives me enough control that I can get the grind I want out of the amp without actually killing people. That works really well, except that on this occasion, because of wanting the simpler breakdown, I didn't want to be carrying the large amp, and I really didn't want to be carrying and worrying about the extra cabling, the attenuator and all that stuff. So instead, I took my 22 watt Victory Sheriff that you can see behind me. It's yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's very Marshally. on channel 2, it sounds pretty much like a sort of slightly different variant of a JCM 800. It's a 20 watt amp, so I can turn it up. It's got enough drive to fill the venue that we were playing, and it comes and it packs into a small shoulder bag, which means one less trip out to the car. Right, now, cabs. I used my 212, and that is a closed back cab. Now, this venue has a very rudimentary setup for playing. We were using a PA that talks out to the audience but doesn't have fold back. So you get enough bleed round that you can actually hear what the singers are doing, but we were not miking up the cabs. So I needed enough amp to actually fill the venue, and the Sheriff is surprisingly loud for doing that stuff. But the thought occurred to me, I have got a 15 watt Ignator tweaker combo. It's an open back 112. If I used that, I thought, then the drummer will actually get the bleed from the back of the cab and we'll get a better idea of what's going on, because the drummer being at the back of the stage area is getting virtually no information through them from the PA. Alex, the drummer with this band, is a monster. He is a machine. He plays most of the time to or around a click, and he's one of those drummers who actually really learns the song. So you could put him in complete isolation and he will play the song beginning to end with all the stop starts, all the shifts, everything else, all the accents that go with it. He does not need to be hearing and feeding off what everyone else is doing. So on this occasion, I decided that I would simply take my 212 closed back. Alex would get on and do his thing, and I would take the cab that was actually going to fill the room out better. All we did was angle the cabs inwards so that the singers could get some guitar hitting them in the back of their head as they played. And do you know what? It all worked really well. I remembered most of the songs. I didn't manage to confuse myself by making things too complex. And at the end of the night, it took me 10 minutes to get everything back into the car. I drove home. It took me 10 minutes to get everything out and put away. And then we got up and we went on holiday. Yippee. So when it came down to it, not much of the gear that I used was what would have been on my A-list for stuff that I would like to play on a gig. And the funny thing is that I do the occasional tech gig, and I will do the New Wave of Classic Rock Festival as a sort of floating guitar tech. And one of the things that you find there is that you get people who use all sorts of gear. There's typically a Marshall backline that's hired in for the event. Some people bring their own amps. Some people are using really high-end tube amps. Some people are using modelers, all sorts of different things. You get people coming in with a tuner and an overdrive, and you get other people coming in with multi-tiered pedal boards and are tap dancing on them all over the place. And the thing that you realise is that you see people's feet moving and you listen to the sound, you're thinking, that is making virtually no difference that actually matters to anything. So sometimes having the gear that will fit in your hands, that will fit in your car, and that will fill out the venue is probably the right approach to take. Okay, I hope this is useful. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your choices would be. I'm Andy. I'll see you next time out. Until then, take care.